All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Wisconsin Family Podcast on a Thursday, July 27th, 2023. Let's get our normal talk out of the way right away here. If you want to follow along, you can do that on Twitter at Wisconsin_fam. That's at Wisconsin_FAM. You can also follow on TikTok. You got to search Wisconsin_family, and then the main hub for the program where everything is housed. You can always go back and watch archives. You can subscribe. That is on YouTube, youtube.com/at Wisconsin Family 1. That's at Wisconsin, youtube.com/at Wisconsin Family, the number 1. And we're in a different location here today for the podcast. You can see the different setup. We'll be back to our normal studios tomorrow. Let's see what has happened since we last talked. Oh, I know. After 18 years in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers suddenly discovered that he can take a pay cut to try to help his team. From USA Today, headline, Aaron Rodgers takes nearly $35 million pay cut in reworked contract with Jets per reports. And then we have this little number from Adam Schefter. Let me grab that here. It says Aaron Rodgers voluntarily took a $35 million pay cut on his 2-year deal with the Jets. As Tom Pelissero reported, this will allow the Jets to acquire more talent than they would have under the contract they assumed from Green Bay in April. No team sport player is thought to have revised his contract in such a team-focused way in the past. So not only did Rodgers go 18 years with the Green Bay Packers, never giving them a team-friendly deal, he may have pushed some money around, but he never took a discount. Not only did he spend 18 years not taking a discount with the Green Bay Packers, he did it before he ever played in his first game with the New York Jets. And when I first saw the news, my initial reaction was, he's not doing this to help the team. He's doing this to spite Brian Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers front office, probably Mark Murphy as well. And I guess that's just what I think of him as a person. After 18 years, he suddenly cares about the team. Now, a lot of Packer fans say, well, Aaron, don't bother talking about this. It doesn't affect us anymore. He's gone. He's the Jets' problem now. That's fair enough. Does this rework of his contract affect the Green Bay Packers at the moment? No. But it affected the Green Bay Packers for 18 years. He could have done this at any point in time over his few big, massive contracts with the Packers. The last contract that he signed a couple of years ago made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Now, all of a sudden, he's pulling a Tom Brady and saying, oh, I don't need all that money. I'm going to help the team. Let me put it to you this way. Even if you're not of the same mind of thinking as me, where you don't think that he's doing it to spite Goody, he's just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He's not trying to show up the Packers. Well, then why didn't he do it for the 18 years that he was in Green Bay? That should at least upset you. Now, again, does it affect you as a Packer fan today? Does it affect what Jordan Love is doing? Does it affect the Packers' product on the field? Well, actually, when you think about it, kind of does. Because the Packers may have additional talent that they would have signed the last couple of years that would still be there even though Rodgers is gone. If Rodgers weren't sucking up so much money. So if you're a Packer fan, again, it did affect you the last handful of years because there could be more talent right now. But this whole Aaron Rodgers offseason, the Packer fans and the Green Bay front office should consider it a slap in the face. And I don't know if Rodgers is trying to go after Packer fans, but he's definitely trying to slap Goody in the face. Mark Murphy probably as well. with this whole offseason and everything that he's done differently. He takes the pay cut. He also shows up to all the offseason workouts, which he hasn't done in a few years in Green Bay. He also says the other day how much he's embracing these young guys on the team. He also talks about now he has a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl. Oh, yeah. You mean you haven't had a legit chance to win a Super Bowl since 2010, Aaron? And a lot of those games you screwed up in the playoffs. He could have beat Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. Instead of complaining about the fact that Matt LaFleur tried to kick a field goal at the end of the game and tried to go with the onside kick at the end of that game against Tampa, Rodgers could have ran the ball in. He had an opportunity for a touchdown. In fact, he had multiple opportunities on that one series for a touchdown. He had wide open guys, but he had to force it to Davante Adams. He had a wide open path to run in, and he chose not to. He chose to throw it to Adams. And now all of a sudden, he's showing up at the offseason stuff. He's got a legit chance to win a Super Bowl. He's embracing playing with young guys. What I thought in Green Bay, it was, well, you never give me anyone. You never give me anyone. Well, did you give up any of your money, Aaron, so that they could? And if you're so damn good, what do you need a first-round receiver for? Oh, by the way, speaking of receivers, because of the fact that you made things a mess in Green Bay, and it was not Goody, the Aaron Rodgers cultists out there would have you believe that it was Brian Gutekunst who's at fault for everything. Started by drafting Jordan Love, and you see that made Aaron Rodgers very upset. As if somehow Rodgers' feelings should be considered by the Green Bay Packers when they're making future and organizational moves. I'm sorry, I forget where I was even going with this. It's just the whole thing makes me mad. And as a Packer fan, if you're a Packer fan, not an Aaron Rodgers cult member, I don't see how it doesn't upset you. I don't see how it doesn't make you mad. Oh, I was going to say, Rodgers made things a mess, not Goody, but Rodgers made things a mess, and he wouldn't give up money, and guess what you lost? Davante Adams. Because of the whole Rodgers mess, why could you have not, if Rodgers really loved Davante Adams that much, if he really loved playing with him that much, and if he really wanted to be in Green Bay and help out the Packers like his words said he did, then why didn't he take a pay cut to keep his best friend there? Because now Rodgers talking, oh, hey, I'm looking longer term here at this Jets team because we're going to grow as a young team together. Well, you had young players in Green Bay. You didn't seem very interested in growing with them, and you also didn't keep Davante Adams around. You're responsible for that in a large part. You could have played with Adams for another 5 years. It's Aaron Rodgers that screwed it up, not the Green Bay Packers. It's a lot of garbage from Aaron Rodgers. All right, so let's move on. Let us move on. For the second day in a row here. Wait, I should mention this and talk about this real quick. So the Milwaukee Brewers make a trade. First one of what we hope are a handful of trades before the trade deadline next week. Jason Mackey covers the Pittsburgh Pirates. On Twitter, says sources Pirates have traded Carlos Santana to the Brewers for shortstop prospect Johnny Severino. Was one of two big international signings for Milwaukee in 22. So the Brewers have solved one of their problems to some extent. Carlos Santana, first baseman. It's an upgrade over Rowdy Tellez. Good defensive first baseman. Very similar to Tellez in that. So Matt Arnold said that he didn't want to sacrifice defense just to add bats. So they get the best of both worlds here because they're not sacrificing the defense. And they're also getting an upgrade in bats. Now, both Tellez and Carlos Santana have 12 home runs. Let me pull up Carlos Santana's numbers for you here. They both have 12 home runs. Santana's got a higher batting average. For those who care about that, there's a lot of people who say, batting average doesn't matter. Well, to me it does. So this season, Santana, 235 batting average. Tellez is like 205 or 212. So 2023, he's got 345 at bats, 12 home runs, 53 runs batted in. Got a higher on base percentage than Rowdy. He's got 321 for an on base percentage. He's slugging 412, which is about 100 points higher than Tellez. And he's also got an OPS of almost 100 more than Tellez, too, with a 732. So, one position has been upgraded, and that was a needed upgrade. Still to come, hopefully, another outfielder. You know what would be perfect is if the Brewers could grab a good hitting outfielder and transition Christian Yelich, who's clearly hitting well, into a DH role. It makes your outfield depth better. And you can mix and match because Joey Wiemer hasn't been hitting all that great. Tyrone Taylor is not the answer. If you brought in a good hitting outfielder, you could move Yelich to DH. Or you could have both of them in the outfield at the same time. And your outfield is still going to be better. I'd love to see that. Move Yelich to DH, bring in another good hitting outfielder. And then, so DH is a hole that needs to be filled. That could be filled via trade directly for a DH, somebody specific. Or you could fill it by adding an outfielder and moving Yelich to DH. Either way, you still need a DH. You still need a good hitting outfielder or a better hitting outfielder. You need an upgrade there. And then somewhere else on the infield. Third base Luis Urias is stuck in the minors. He, quite frankly, sucked anytime he was up this year or not hurt. Brian Anderson, he's part of the poor and part of the inconsistent offense. You could upgrade from him at third base. You could also upgrade the second base position, especially when it comes to hitting. Now, I don't know if that's something they're going to do or not. Like I said, Matt Arnold said they don't want to sacrifice defense for a bat, but and if you're replacing Terang at second base, you're going to lose on defense because he's one of the best defensive second basemen in baseball. But he can't hit. There's got to be some give and take here. I'd be willing to sacrifice a portion of defense, a talent level at defense at second base to get a bat who's going to be better than basically hovering over the 200 mark, which is what Terang is doing. So that's still, so we got one position upgraded. That's good. That's a good start. Good start. Don't misunderstand. Good start to get first base upgraded. Rowdy Tellez, which I've contested the entire time. He was originally brought in to be a role player, not necessarily an everyday player. And at some point, when he became an everyday player, he didn't do as well. 35 home runs last year, it's good, but it just wasn't cutting it this year. It's not working out. Now, if you can use him more sparingly or as a pinch hitter more often, that would probably be good. I think that would be a tremendous role for Rowdy Tellez. It would be a great niche, I think, for him. But Carlos Santana could be your everyday first baseman, so we've upgraded one spot, and that's a good start. Still to come, again, I hope for a second baseman or a third baseman, one of the two. Not expecting cheapo Mark A to go too crazy here, but either a second baseman or a third baseman, and then an outfielder / DH would still be on my list. But it's a good start for the Brewers here. Scoreboard watching, of course. Brewers take 2 out of 3 from the Reds. Good series against them. Brewers have started out. You couldn't ask for much better in the second half. They struggled. Excuse me. They struggled in their home series. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Braves. They get another shot at them coming up here starting tomorrow. Weekend series, 3 in Atlanta. It's going to be another good test, just like it was last weekend. Hopefully the Brewers can win this series. Sweep, that's probably asking too much. But win 2 out of 3. Scoreboard watching. So, Reds, Brewers both off today. Reds start a 3-game series tomorrow as well. Looking at the standings, Brewers a game and a half up. Reds play the Dodgers starting tomorrow in Los Angeles. So this, one more note, just to give you more information on Carlos Santana. Dominic Cotroneo, WTMJ, on Twitter says, quick basics on Carlos Santana. Switch hitting first baseman has played all but 8 games this year. Virtually even splits versus lefty-righties, but more power as a left-handed hitter, which is good. It's good to be a left-handed hitter at American Family Field. Recently broke out of a funk with a 7-for-20 stretch with 6 extra base hits, so that's good. You're bringing in a hitter who's semi-hot. That's always a good thing. All right, let's return to the Packers here. Again, if you want to get a hold of us, you could do that. Follow along on Twitter at Wisconsin_fam. That's at Wisconsin_FAM. Go ahead and search for us on TikTok as well, Wisconsin_family. And then YouTube.com/@WisconsinFamily1. That's YouTube.com/@WisconsinFamily, the number 1. So yesterday, day 1 of Packers training camp. Defense outplayed the offense. Jordan Love, as we talked to Andy Herman yesterday, said he had an up and down day. Missed a couple of deep throws. Andy said that wind was a factor there, and I'm sure it was. Matt LaFleur wouldn't say that, though it was windy. I guess LaFleur didn't want to take that into consideration for some of the throws that Love missed, which is good. I appreciate that. Hold him accountable. You're going to play in wind. You're going to play in a lot of bad conditions in the NFC North and in Green Bay throughout the winter and fall. So he's going to have to figure out how to do that. But as LaFleur said before practice today, he's not going to overreact to anything on day 1 of camp, which is a good idea. Alex Magoo. Fan favorite. People are ready for him to step in. But yesterday, defense outperformed offense. Luke Musgrave looked really good. Same today. Good connection between Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs especially. But defense took the day yesterday, so the offense had to do push-ups after practice number 1. Coincidentally, they had to do the same today because defense in the red zone drill, the competitive period, defense beat the offense again. Jordan Love did throw a touchdown. Had a couple of, from what I saw, a couple of really nice throws today. He also threw an interception, so I guess you could say it's an up and down day, but it sounds like it was a lot better day than yesterday, even despite the interception that he threw. But on that the push-ups thing, which could you imagine Matt LaFleur telling Aaron Rodgers, hey, you're part of this offense, pal, you got to do push-ups. Ha, 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 ha. I think not. But now that the heavy burdened chains are off of Matt LaFleur, which was Aaron Rodgers, now he can make Jordan Love in the offense, he can make him do push-ups. And it looks like that's something that they're going to be doing. This from SI.com. Bill Huber. Thursday, LaFleur, push-ups for offense. Says Green Bay Packers offense pushed around a bit by the defense during the first day of training camp on Wednesday and then also today. Ended the practice doing push-ups. Matt LaFleur said, we have a competition period, a third down period, where there was 7 reps and the defense won that handily. Few highlights from Matt LaFleur's press conference today. Quoting Matt, he said, I think there's a lot of good out there. And this, again, talking about yesterday's practice. He says, I think there's a lot of good out there. Certainly one side's always going to typically get the better of the other side. That was the defense in this case. He says that's just the balance that you've got to play throughout training camp. But more than anything, the things that we can control, that's what we're looking at, especially early on. Just the energy, the attitude, the effort, guys communicating, getting all 11 out there on the same. And so there's a lot of good things. Certainly there's a lot of things from an execution standpoint that we have to clean up. When it came to the win, Matt LaFleur said, I think that you're always going to want some throws back as a quarterback, and this is talking about Love and some of the ones he missed. He said there were a couple that I think he probably should have put a little more air under, and that's just part of early in camp. We're never going to overreact to anything on the first day. Oh, this should be a good comment here. LaFleur talking about Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, the rookie tight ends, which Andy Herman talked about Musgrave yesterday. I asked him, who is the one rookie pass catcher that you're most excited about seeing? He said it was easy, Musgrave, because he's such a freak athlete. And he's looked really good the first 2 days of camp here. But LaFleur on Musgrave and Kraft, he said they're both very intelligent guys who are not afraid to work. We almost have to protect those guys from themselves at times. Walking out of the staff meetings last night after all the meetings, and they're still in here talking about things, walking through things. They're not afraid of the work. They're going to put it in. I have a lot of confidence in tight ends coach John Dunn and being able to articulate the expectations and the standards of that position and what's expected of those guys. They've got skill sets, obviously. They're very different in their own way. Obviously, Musgrave, he can flat fly, and Tucker's a big body guy that has a lot of versatility to him. It's going to be fun to watch these guys grow along the way. It will be fun to watch them grow, particularly with Jordan Love, not just in this camp, but as time goes on throughout the preseason and then into the regular season and beyond that. Kenny Clark, this was from CBS Sports. Headline here, Kenny Clark loves how Packers are being 100% disrespected entering 2023. He says they're excited about it. You know, a lot of things, I'm going to give you a quote here from after practice today from Devontae Wyatt. You know, everyone, and I mentioned this a while back, looking at some of the quotes that Joe Barry had during the OTAs and minicamp, it's easy for everyone to say the right things during the offseason. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the Houston Texans and have even lower expectations on them than the Packers have this year probably. And it's easy for everyone to sound good and say the right things in the offseason, and because everyone knows what you got to say. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to hit hard. We're going to tackle better this year, and all that. And that happens every year with every team. But for some reason, it never translates onto the field when it comes to the Packer defense, especially. But Devontae Wyatt, again, this is an example. It's easy to say the right things in the offseason, but for me, I'll believe all this when I see it. When I see it put into practice, week 1 and beyond of this season. So Matt Schneidman, quoting Devontae Wyatt on Twitter, says, Wyatt says, I can tell you right now, this defense, we bringing more pressure, we attacking more, and we ready to dominate more this year than last year. Great. Am I to believe that Joe Barry is going to be different? Guy's had multiple opportunities, including here in Green Bay as a defensive coordinator. He's never run a successful defense, including the past couple of seasons in Green Bay. He should have been fired after last year. Everyone is in almost unison that he should have been fired after the season. But I am to somehow believe that it's suddenly going to click. I'll believe that when I see it. I also believe that the defense is going to have more pressure, attack more, and dominate more this year than last year. I hope it's true. I'm not saying it can't happen. Well, I'm not saying the players can't do it. I think that it's been borne out over time that Joe Barry cannot do it. Now, maybe I don't know, trying to be optimistic. Maybe there's so much talent on this defense that it just overcomes Joe Barry. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers was so good for most of his time in Green Bay that it overcame the terrible coaching of Mike McCarthy. And they were still able to win because of the talent on the team despite their head coach. They had to fight the other team, and they had to fight the head coach. Now, that could be what it is with the defense. I guess that's the best hope. The best hope is not that Joe Barry's going to roll out this season, roll out of bed, and all of a sudden say, oh, the light bulb goes off. Oh, now I get it. Now I know how to coordinate a defense. If that's what you're banking on, it ain't happening. History tells you that. That's why it's important to study history, because it repeats itself. And it's not even like, because I was just thinking, it's not even like Christian Yelich, who seems to be back. Christian Yelich, 2018, 2019, and even with the Marlins before he came to the Brewers, had a lot of success. He was good. 18, 19 was very good. And then he just went down the toilet. But there was a time that he did do something good. No, he's returning back to form. There's no form to return back to for Joe Barry. He's never been good. So it ain't happening now. Maybe the Packer defense can overcome it with the talent. That's the best bet. But again, offseason, easy to say all the right things. Let's see here. Another one from Sports Illustrated, Jacob Westendorf. Headline, Nixon hunting more opportunities. Keyshawn Nixon is rotting away on the bench, well, not on the bench, but as a gunner on special teams, all while the Packers were screwing around with Amari Rodgers, who cost them a couple of games maybe. Packers may have made the playoffs last year. Nixon, meanwhile, he didn't even get into the last handful of games, and he was the best kick returner in football after that. But now he's going to be in an expanded role, especially while Eric Stokes is still out and recovering from his injury. He's going to be the starting slot cornerback as of right now. And so far in practice, especially yesterday, I didn't see a whole lot on Nixon today, but yesterday in practice, he had a good day, big day. So this article from SI is just kind of talking about how he gets opportunities. The more opportunities he gets, and I think LaFleur touched on it too, he keeps showing up and he keeps doing a good job. So that's exciting. Still worrisome to me that LaFleur or Bisaccia didn't recognize the talent of Nixon and instead was just throwing out there the absolute worst kick returner in the NFL with Amari Rodgers. Meanwhile, you didn't have the foresight or the guts to make that switch to or to recognize that you had the best kick returner in the NFL right there, playing special teams as a gunner right next to Amari Rodgers. That's concerning, because if that's the case with him, what other positions have the Packers had where you have a player who's really struggling? It makes you wonder, is there somebody else who can do it? So that's a concern to me. But we will see how that all plays out here as time goes on. All right, that's going to do it here for today's podcast, Wisconsin Family Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us. Again, follow along on Twitter at Wisconsin_fam, YouTube.com/@WisconsinFamily, the number 1, @WisconsinFamily1, and then TikTok, search us, Wisconsin_family. We'll be back tomorrow, wrap things up on a Friday. Have a great night, everyone.